the 28th of August. You're with Marie, and if you have been with us over at Breakfast Bourbon on Outlaw TV as it is, we've just been there for the last hour. We've been having great chats on movie, TV, and we actually did eventually get round to talking about some knitting. But you know what? If you have missed that already, we're going to repeat a whole bunch of it here. So yes, Rachel, it is a very busy morning this morning. So welcome along, and say a big hello and a huge big welcome to my guests this morning as we do pajama parties every Saturday, Ethan and Deb from Outlaw Yarn. And it's so funny because we're now reversed. I was on the other side of the screen with your live stream and you guys are on this side. Oh,
Yeah. It helps people keep it straight which broadcast they're watching.
I know. It's so hilarious. Now we had a great time over with you guys, and we did actually eventually get round to talking about some knitting, which is awesome. Everyone is just coming in. Good morning to you all. So for those that have joined from Breakfast Bourbon, I apologise now if some of this is a little repetitious, but that's okay. We'll cope. We'll cope.
So what when we're talking about stuff twice, this is the time to go make a cup of tea.
I know, yeah, exactly. And actually we'll do that if you did hear the stuff. So we're going to talk about the stuff. I'm going to start actually off with my project because then I can start on this, you see, and then we can get into some other really good stuff. But as many of you know, the Kelly & Co. has been on pre-sale. There's the Kelly & Co. there. Look at, I love these two together. I don't put these in a shawl. They're so sweet.
Yeah.
Just glorious. And actually, I had this one here. Look at that. Oh, so good. Anyway.
Yeah. You need to send us samples, Marie.
I do need to send you samples. I do. So
I get to see it in person, but no.
I know. We'll be allowed to do that from Wednesday.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So this is the colour I've got, which is called Ramor, and I have gone and wound a couple of those off, and I couldn't help myself yesterday. I jumped into you. Deb and I couldn't get over. We've both had this in our queue for like a long time, nearly 10 years. Yes. So I'm knitting Nanook by Heidi Kiddermeyer, which is this really lovely sort of relaxed style cardigan with a really nice scalloped collared detailing with garter stitch front and plain back. So it's just a very easy to wear cardigan. So what I ended up doing is I was initially looking at some usual suspects. I was looking at a lot of the gorgeous designs from Carol Feller. And there was a whole heap. I looked at a number of the Croft designs. Dare I say it? I even had a look at the Wallen.
Oh, that's dangerous.
I know. At a weak moment, I nearly succumbed. But then
you realize that you have other things to do in your life.
Well, I did regain my senses at that point, and and the thing is I went down the Wallen Highway because I had just photographed the yarn, so I had a bag of all the colours in front of me. So this beautiful colour,
that's never good.
It's really dangerous, and of course I'd been photographing some combinations. I thought, well, while I'm doing them here, I'm going to do some combos up for social media, and then you do that, and then you start, and then you start seeing Marie Wallen patterns, and you think, ooh, it's all right. I managed to shake myself of that insanity, and thought, no, Marie, you have got so many designs sitting in your library of designs that you've purchased, thinking, yes, I'm definitely going to knit that. And I'll often purchase patterns with a very specific yarn in mind. And I can't even tell you what yarn I had in mind when I know, tell a lie. I knit Climb Every Mountain from Heidi Kiddermeyer, and she had a bundle deal, which was much better than buying a single pattern. So I ended up buying Climb Every Mountain, and then I added into the bundle Nanook and Vitamin D. So that's how I've got all three.
Well, Vitamin D is a classic, so that makes
Vitamin
sense.
D is a classic, yeah, exactly. And so I thought, right, that's what I'm going to do. Put the search in for the gauge, and boom, that's the one that came up. And literally, while I've just been finishing this off while I've been on Breakfast Bourbon, so I have now finished the collar. So that is the collar complete.
So pretty.
It is really pretty.
It is really pretty. It's getting gauge. It's looking fabulous. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to put that down now, because as we were saying over on the other thread, if you've ever knit a pattern from Frau Kittermeier, she does have a fondness of the grading table.
Yeah.
And I personally don't have a fondness of the grading table, so I just need to do a little bit of my own tech editing on that. So
I
then
fully hate them. I hate them.
Yeah, I'm not
because
I forgot about it, but it's okay.
Oh, it's yeah. She's a precious gift.
Look, it's going to take me probably 10 minutes to just handwrite it.
And it does make sense to other people, I've been told.
Yes, yeah. And I think if actually, and I can see how it would make sense. Like I know when I did Climb Every Mountain, I got, because I am one of these people that will actually go through and read a pattern before I start knitting it. And I remember reading that pattern going, what? But that was okay because it was once you actually start working it is a lot easier. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with that to get that completed, which means that I can now go and grab this and start. Oh gosh, the last of my ball is disintegrating. I can start. Oh, what have I know? So I can just get back to my poncho, which is good. I don't know what I've done here. Look at that.
I will
so,
say,
and
like,
I'm still working on my.
enjoying just being back in stockinette land. It's a good time.
Yeah, well, this has been quite great, I have to admit. It was, I mean, doing that bit of patterning last night. So I only cast that on yesterday morning, and I actually spent a bit of time doing that when I should have been loading stuff for the sale, but I did that instead, which was much more fun.
Okay.
Yes, and so I know. So then, oh, hold on, let's spin that around. So there, and if you're wondering about that big funny coloured patch in the middle,
yeah,
the faded. So that coloured patch in the middle is what happens when you work on a project the last lockdown, and then you have it all folded up and you have it sitting in your knitting basket, which sort of gets the morning sun every morning for about 10 minutes every day of the year, and it fades on hand dye jar. So that's what that is. Yeah.
I mean,
so I don't care.
You could make it like a modern art project next time and like do like a solar phase sort of blanket, like knit a blanket on a knitting machine and then intentionally leave it there just to like put that one spot on it and then sell it for millions of dollars in the gallery.
It could be like tie-dyed by the sun.
Oh no, okay, first of all, like people, like I just need everyone at home to know I do not support resist dyeing, also known as tie-dyed yarn. If any of you are sitting there and you're like, I might want to buy some resist dyed yarn, or I might be considering making some, stop what you're doing, put down the zip ties, step away from the yarn. Crimes against yarn are punishable as a criminal offense in this court. And I am the judge, jury, and executioner.
Right.
Just
so you know. Exactly.
Julie's dressed appropriately for today. You in your pajamas as well, Julie.
Excellent, Julie. Like to hear it. Now, I'll tell you what I'm going to get you to do, Mr. Tech. Can you go and jump down onto just above your picky, please? Check your cogwheel and just check your mic input, because I think on this one it's gone and defaulted back to your earbud mic. Because Deb's is sounding like she's in a wee bit of a tunnel, and I think it's because she's not.
It could be the hay fever.
Yeah, well, it's because I think the mic's sitting in the butt in Ethan's ear, so I think that's.
There we go. How's that?
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I had it set. No, I had it set to the other thing on the other. As well, these have spatial audio mics, so it means that it actually picks up how you're sitting in the room and makes it try to sound like that to other people.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay, well, that's.
Yeah.
So for anyone who is just joining us, we were having a little technological problem with Marie on our feed for Breakfast Bourbon, which means we had to put in, Ethan and I are sharing the earbuds. Yeah. So I've got one and he's got one so that we could hear, because we couldn't hear Marie on our...
Yeah. So 1980s Walkman, you two. It's very cute.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
Isn't it? So yeah, so that's what I'm doing on my project. The other thing I'll get out of the way now that everyone is here is obviously we had the big announcement. So as of midnight on Wednesday morning, we are into level 3. So the good news is that is both ourselves and you guys, from an online store point of view, we are back in action, which is really exciting. So our postponed Knit August Night sale is going to start from that Wednesday, from that time. if you're wanting to have a look at what we've got in the sale, I've actually been putting everything over in the sale category already, because obviously we were about to start it just before we went into lockdown. So you can actually peruse what is there. Almost everything that's in there is going to be reduced, except the things that are already in there on sale. So we've got the vintage, we've all the Outlaw, all the Bandit have all got 10% off. We've got vintage. We're going to have an incredible special on vintage. So we're doing $5 all vintage yarns, $5 per ball, $40 per pack, which is wicked if you're wanting to stock up for garment lots. And I've got new vintage yarns coming. So we've done a sort of a movie collection. We've called it the Noir Collection, a movie collection, and they've all got names like Monroe and Bogart and Hepburn and yeah. So I photographed actually most of those yesterday. So I just need to do the colour matching over the weekend and get those up. We've also got a couple of gorgeous new merino yarns, limited edition just for the sale. So there's a whole bunch of really interesting fun stuff. If you've already placed an order since we went into lockdown that's sitting there, the good news is yours have all been, because we sell blankets and do have permission for our warehouse to be open in level 4. So whilst we can't dispatch yarn, but we do dispatch blankets out for people that purchase, what we can do is it means that our warehouse has been open and has actually picked and packed all of those. So those will actually go
ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go. So if you've been waiting for something, you should actually get that by the end, depending on where you are. Hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of this coming week, which will be awesome. And then we're back into the sale, and we're going to do the sale Wednesday to Wednesday, a whole week, nice and easy. So it'll be a nice kick-off for September, because I think that's September 1st, isn't it? Wednesday. Gosh, where's that gone? Spring.
It disappeared while we were here.
Yeah.
While we were home.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of bit like while he was sleeping.
I know. I did the diaries the other day, and I had to go through yesterday in YouTube and actually change the dates on everything, because I had all the days wrong. I didn't even know what day of the week it was.
Oh yeah, I have no idea what's happening.
Hopeless.
I got an email from someone in North America, and they were like, September 1st is just around the corner. I was like, no, it's not. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I know.
Now, you do have a quick question from Janet Strong. I'm going to be your secretary this time.
Yeah, okay, then. You be nice.
Will it still be half-price postage to Australia?
Yeah. I think Sydney's still in lockdown, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, no, until I actually put it out, half price postage. So that's half price postage on orders up to 2 kilos. I think it's just under 2 kilos. Until I actually think I put it there until the bubble, the Trans-Tasman bubble has been re-established. So that could be quite some time, you know. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
No, I'm not holding my breath. But
that was optimistic
actually,
of you.
I know, it was very optimistic of me. But also too, I'm just sort of looking at everybody across the way, you know, like I'm just waiting to see, hoping that they're going to be okay and all right. It is so funny because I can hear you guys, but you guys are frozen on my screen.
Oh no.
Are they frozen on everyone else's screens?
Oh God, I hope
Let me
not.
know. I hope. Let me know, because I'm dying to know if they are. Because honestly, the resting bitch faces I've got on my screen.
Those are just our faces.
Oh no, you're back. You're back. Honestly,
it's just our faces.
They just look like that.
Yeah.
Seriously. Oh, that was so funny. It was so funny. Yes, no, we're going, and I know we're going to keep it until the trends. Yep, they're frozen. Kathy said. Oh, yep. So it sounds like you're coming back now.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're getting a good view of the resting bitch face.
It was good. It was good. That was funny though, wasn't it, guys? It was really funny. No, we are going to keep that going until the bubble reopens, because it's just, you know, they're stuck over there, especially in New South Wales. I wouldn't want to be in Sydney right now.
No, definitely not.
No.
I mean, I barely want to be in Sydney at the best of times. Sorry, guys. I have a weird soft spot for Perth, which makes no sense. I state this openly.
No, I like Perth.
Since I don't know that you've been there.
No, I just, my people are in Perth. The only people I really know really well in Aussie all live in Perth or Brisbane. But I'm terrified of Brisbane because apparently it's the spider capital of Australia.
No, I think, there's probably more spiders and killy bitey things in Tasmania, to be fair.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah. But
I thought Hobart was like going to be a refuge for me if I ever went to Australia.
No,
Like,
well, no, it is a refuge. Hobart is lovely. Perth is very nice too. There's lots of Kiwis in Perth. I've got a whole heap of my relatives. You know, they talk about the relatives, the New Zealanders all in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and there's lots there as well. But there is a whole stack. I've got a whole heap of cousins and rallies in Perth too. So
Yeah,
I like Perth. I'm very fond of Perth.
Yeah, I don't do bugs very well. Like anything with more than 4 legs. I don't even like butterflies.
Yes. Yeah. Luckily that we're all in lockdown because Malcolm did have to go and rescue Ethan from.
There was a very large spider. The rosebush and the Japanese maple need to be trimmed.
Yeah.
There is some sort of like deep conspiracy of insects in there. It's a situation. Insects and arachnids. I'm not into it.
Right.
Much to the delight of my entomology-loving child.
I was just about to say, yeah, she loves all those bits and pieces. So that's what's going on at Skeinz. That's what we're sort of up to really for this week. So it's not too bad. One of the things I thought we could talk about on this side that we're doing is we talked about movies and TV over there. The other thing we've been doing, of course, is a lot of cooking. And yes, and it's been a bit like, I don't know what it's been like in your house. In this house, it's been
it's been great because I live with a professional chef.
I know, you're so lucky.
I'm all about the not cooking, and if you are going to talk like food and stuff, then Ethan has to tell the story about getting the chicken from the supermarket.
Oh God.
And go.
Is it bad that I've forgotten what's happened now?
No, when you were trying to get the chicken.
Oh no, oh God. Okay, so everyone, during the last lockdown, I was really on top of things like making meal plans and shopping and doing all this stuff. And this time it's been much more by the seat of my pants. Like there's been a lot of kind of like explorations or whatever is available because it's a different season and I'm just not as motivated to cook at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I found out that there were some really great pre-made chicken tenders that you can get here in New Zealand that taste great. They're not oily. And
the child loves them.
Like it checks all the boxes and it's like a fake takeaway night.
Yeah,
Pretend takeaways if you're locked in, right? Mm-hmm. So I bought them without having to talk to anyone the first time. And then went back to get more of them recently at a different grocery shop that I don't normally, like I do my grocery shopping at more than one place. I'm one of those people. So I'm wandering the frozen area, trying to be efficient still, because like it's lockdown, I'm in a mask, I want to get out of there. And I can't find it. So I turned to someone working there and I asked them where the Teagle chicken is.
So Ethan's telling this story to us at the dinner table, and I turn around to him and go, Teagle.
Yeah.
And he goes, what? And I'm like, Teagle.
Teagle chicken.
Teagle chicken.
So, long story short, it turns out when you go back to the grocery store and you say, where are the Teagle chicken tenders, the ones that taste like KFC, they instantly know what you're talking about, and they not only take you to them, but hand you 2 bags of the Louisiana Teagle chicken tenders.
Because the first time Ethan asked for them, the person just looked at him very confused and had no idea what he was asking for. So yeah, anyway, there we go.
Yeah,
there is the Teagle chicken story.
So isn't it so funny? I bought a couple of bags of those from our local Foursquare. I've not tried them yet because I saw them in there. I'd bought other ones because we were about the same. I've got 2 teenage boys, right? So trying to feed those hopeless.
Yeah.
And so I've got some of them. Yeah.
I was there for that conversation. Don't forget.
Yes, I know you were there for that conversation. So I've actually gotten some of those. In our house, it has been a twofold thing. One is every day is a little bit like the mystery box challenge on MasterChef.
Yeah. I love that though.
Yeah, so I have been going through what I call freezer surprise. So trying to get to clean out the freezer. Yes, so there's been a bit of mystery meat, and And actually, one of the successes on Mystery Meat was I found some chicken necks which were in there and frozen. And before everybody goes, oh my God, please, Marie, don't tell me you ate chicken necks.
The cat would have loved you.
Yes, the cat. To be fair, I think the chicken necks were purchased for the cat, and they were in there. But I actually also buy chicken necks
for
stock. Thank you, for stock, and at Christmas time to make to roast them off to make gravy instead of for turkey. So anyway.
Same,
yeah. So I had a bag of those, and I looked at them, and I thought, yeah, no, they can go. I don't want to give those to the cat because she's at the stage now where she likes to throw things around and then run and hide it, and I don't want a festering chicken neck turning up in somewhere I don't want it. So I made what I did the stock thing. So I browned off the chicken, thawed them, browned them all off, put the stock veg in, then literally boiled the fuck out of it for, several hours. Then got the masher out, mashed up those chicken necks and then boiled it some more and got this really fantastic rich stock. And then just had and then it was like, once we'd done freezer surprise, then we were on to pantry surprise. So I have like the basket of mysteries, which lives in the pantry, so a basket that you sort of stick all those sort of sachets and all those funny things that you get and you think, oh yeah, I'm going to use that, and you don't, and it goes into the basket surprise. And I found a packet of King's soup, which is the split pea soup, and I thought that'll work. So I strained out my stock and I threw that in with the stock and I cooked that up and seasoned it appropriately, and then got the hand whiz out and whizzed that all up into a glorious emulsion, and it was freaking fantastic. So amazing. I felt so that was sort of freezer surprise there. I have found a frozen rabbit in the freezer.
Yes.
So that's a challenge between now and lockdown. I know. I haven't quite.
Shiitake mushrooms, a little bit of tomato paste, roast it off with that sitting on top, and then finish it with a white wine braise at the very end.
I don't have shiitake mushrooms, but I do have dried Italian mushrooms. That might work actually. Soak those suckers off into some white wine, and that'll work. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm. So yes, there has been a bit of that in our house. And the other challenge that I've had is not to go to a supermarket while we're in lockdown, because these are the things that I challenge myself with. So we've got a locally owned little Foursquare, which is just down the road from us, that a local family own, and they're awesome. So I have been trying to source everything from just little locally owned businesses. So that's been my little challenge. So it is,
Yeah, your Foursquare is awesome. Yeah.
Your Foursquare is weirdly awesome.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. So they've sort of been like all the grocery things, and then we've got like a gourmet butcher, which is behind the Foursquare. So I mean, they've been delivering, and the fish shop has been delivering. So
love that
we got fresh fish the day before. Yeah, so we did fresh fish from them the day before yesterday, and because they were doing it in kilo lots, the rest of it we put into, and we had again freezer surprise, the seafood freezer surprise. Phil did a bouillabaisse last night, so that was fun. So that was the freezer's never looked so empty in its life, I tell you.
Last night we had kind of like gourmet toasties was sort of my idea. So I got like really rich big sourdough bread. And I didn't tell everyone else this, but I fry it in butter. And so what I do first is I cook the chicken. So it was a chicken, halloumi, bacon, mushroom, like exaggerated idea of a toasty. So I put like a big smear of a really rich, enriched Kewpie mayonnaise down and did the spoon spread. So it was all very artistic on the plate. Then I cooked off the chicken. I roasted the mushrooms in olive oil and the leftover bacon fat. And I roasted off the bacon so that it was nice and crisp and crunchy. Then what I like to do is I roast the tomatoes. So I slice them in half and I take out the core of like just some nice sweet temptation tomatoes and drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper right into the oven. Roast them until they're black on the edges and jammy and gooey in the middle. And then
I like tomatoes now.
Yeah. And so I finish cooking off the chicken in the cast iron skillet. And I pop all of that into a pan and I put it underneath everything else in the oven just to keep warm. And then I spread both sides of the bread with butter, and I cook it off in the chicken schmaltz, like the chicken fat that is rendered out from the cooking, in the same pan without cleaning it. Don't clean the cast iron pan in between steps here, everyone. Fry off all the bread, pop that in the oven to stay warm, and then I fry off the halloumi in the same pan. Then I just stacked it very casually on the plate. Wasn't much presentation involved. I'll send you a picture later. I took several. And then just a little crumble of some fresh sheep milk feta produced here locally in Christchurch, actually, that we got, which was great. And then a little bit of lemon zest and a squeeze of lemon juice over top. And it was just perfect as a great evening meal. And it wasn't terrifically heavy, which is always nice, especially when you decide then to drink half a bottle of bourbon, which is what I did last night. But I've kind of been having like just a bit of a play that way with stuff, like just really kind of intuitive cooking. We've definitely had some very luxurious grilled cheese recently.
Yeah, that was good too.
I bought so like everyone at home, if you're sitting there and you're like, what do I do when I'm trapped in lockdown and it's hard to get something that you really want, right? My biggest recommendation for people is stick with things that you know you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
Don't try to like go on a new culinary adventure. Like, let's not do last lockdown where everyone was like, I'm going to master how to bake bread in my oven. Oh my God. Like, first of all, excepting very rare circumstances, I can never get the kind of crust I want on a bread at home because I'm used to having steam deck ovens. So I'm just never satisfied. I mean, I'm never satisfied about anything anyway, but I'm extra never satisfied about this, obviously. My big, like, suggestion that I would give everyone is, like, I've gone on a bit of an Indian adventure recently. Now, that was cupboard surprise because I thought I'd picked up something at the supermarket and then opened the cupboard and found out I hadn't. So I got partway through preparing to make chicken tikka masala and then realized that it was going to have to be a chicken bunadonsk instead because oh boy, we had no tomato product in the house. So I
oh no we didn't. No.
Well, we had a little bit. We had a can of Waddy's Mexican tomatoes. Luckily, Mexican food and Indian food share a lot of culinary nuances and flavor, and you can pretty much murder any seasoning with enough garam masala, everyone. I just need you to know you can overpower. And luckily, a lot of things are not particularly heavily seasoned when they're pre-seasoned in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I did make bunadonsk and aloo gobi that night because that's totally normal. You know.
Well,
I love it's terrible living with a professional chef.
Yeah. See,
Malcolm's doing these Zoom calls with his workmates and stuff, and that when they've got meetings and they're all like, "Oh my God, we really, we're so missing this takeaway or this food or that." Malcolm's just sitting there going, "Nah, our food's improved in lockdown because Ethan's got time to cook."
Yeah, we do lots and see, I've got our oldest son loves to cook as well. Now Angela has actually, she goes, sorry to be off topic. You're not off topic, Angela. You're actually pulling us back on topic. So don't feel bad. She's asking, I have some yarn and stash and thought I'd cast on Shifting Sands pullover, which is Noragon. And I have actually got it here. So I am going to pull it up on the screen in a second for everybody. And I know that both you and I are going to have an opinion on this.
I never have opinions. I'm famously unopinionated.
Now, it is knit flat, yes. And you've been enjoying knitting the round because you can try it on and make adjustments as you go. Knitting flat reminds me of garments that you've knitted that are too big. Can you give me some advice on how to knit this flat to get it right? Now, I'm going to stick this up on the screen so people can see it. And there it is there. Oh, actually, I'm going to change the
I'm going to wiggle my face in the middle.
There we go. There we go.
I was going to say, you can be in the middle because you're the
So, for those, so the thing with this, so my thoughts on this for you, Angela, are, let's move that up. There we go. My thoughts on this is that this is actually a drop-shouldered boxy sweater anyway.
Yeah.
So it's designed already with a pretty solid amount of ease. Now, I don't know whether or not when you say that things, you are saying they're too big. So the big piece of advice that I've got is once you've checked your gauge and you know where you're at with all of those things, is then look at the amount of positive ease that you want in the pattern. And I would then potentially look at bringing your positive ease back.
Yeah.
So then you're not actually having something with quite so much boxiness, and it is actually a little bit more fitted. I like the fact that this design is knitted flat, and the reason for that is there are those lovely shifting sands cables that are in there. It is quite a boxy style, and because of the weight of the yarn and the cables, because when you're doing cables like that, you've got more yarn traveling and moving between the front and the back of your work, so that's more yarn overall in the fabric. That adds weight to your overall garment. Those seams do actually have a structural benefit in the design. And one thing I can tell you about Nora is that those sorts of things do not go unnoticed by her as a designer. So whilst you could make modifications in this design to work it in the round relatively easy, because it is actually a drop shoulder, so it is the front and the back are almost identical, I still would recommend to work it flat. So that's my 2 cents worth. What do you think?
So I still to this day prefer to knit flat and seam. I find it faster. I understand what people say. So Angela, I hear you with you can try things on and see how they're going to fit. But I'm going to tell everyone a big secret. You can try on flat knit garments. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this, right? If you are someone who has access to really inexpensive fabric and your pattern has come with a schematic, you can just trace out onto some inexpensive like toile or like a nice inexpensive cotton calico, and you can literally make a toile out of fabric if you're very, very concerned about a precision of fit, right? Your gauge is extremely important when you're knitting flat, especially your row gauge, which can be much harder to modify. As in, it's harder to make your row gauge go up or down than it is to make your stitch gauge go out and in. And that's just because of the nature of how tension functions in knitting, right? Tension travels vertically, not horizontally. Because that's why when we cut into knitting, if we're steeking, knitting very rarely unravels horizontally, because tension only travels horizontally when you're cabling. Sorry everyone if that's gotten really weirdly technical really fast, but welcome to Life with Ethan and Knitting. These 2 poor women sitting here with me deal with it all the time. So when it comes to a project like shifting sands, what you want to think about is what I would call your point of drape for it to not look too large. So in this pattern, it's going to be draping from the edge of your shoulder, which is not where the seam sits necessarily, because it's a drop shoulder as Marie has identified, but it's going to drape from your shoulder to shoulder. Now, if you look on the schematic, it will most likely have a full measurement across the top of the piece, but you can easily work out where your shoulder will live inside of that measurement and where your hips will live inside of that measurement. And what you want to do to ensure that you're not going too small with a drop shoulder project is you want to make sure that your hips fit inside of the shoulder drop. So that's from the edge of the shoulder seam to the edge of the shoulder seam. You can pretty much make any size inside of that window and have a good fit on it. But then the amount of oversize that you get from a drop shoulder pattern is a shoulder to shoulder measurement. So that is your shoulder to shoulder width and where that fits in inside of the pattern's dimensions. So if you're worried about something looking too big, and that is not everyone's style. Personally, I like oversize and too big, but I'm a telegraph pole. So oversize and too big often looks intentional on me instead of accidental, right? And I recognize that can be an unpleasant feeling. So when you're trying to work this out, as Marie said, check your gauge. And then if you want to make sure this is going to fit a way that you want, take a measurement of your top of your hip and then check it against the size of the shoulder seams where you're putting the sleeves in. And as long as you're picking a size where your hips are inside of that measurement, you're going to find one that fits you. Now, and remember here, this is not time to ever be critical about our bodies. This is time to remember how we want something to look on our body. It's putting 2 shapes together to produce the result that you want. So when we're talking about this, some of us have wider portions of our bodies that exist at different parts than others. So, because there's no such thing as a standard human body. So what I'm saying here as well, with top of the hip measurement, that's the widest part of my body when it comes to a drop shoulder pattern. You want to measure your widest portion and fit inside of that measurement, okay? So that's the big things for getting something that fits without being too oversized, if that's not the goal, is pick the widest part of you that you want to be inside of the dimensions of the garment, measure that, and knit to that size. Sorry if that's a really confusing answer.
No,
but I think it covers everything.
Yeah, and in this particular design, I just checked the ease. That's why I had that up on the screen was 30 to 40 centimeters of positive ease. So honestly, there is so much wiggle room there. Yeah, that's huge, and that is a lot. And one of the interesting things with that, so for example, if you're someone like me who's a real pear, because I'm quite keen to knit this, but I'm a real pear-shaped person, so for me, I will be making sure that I get it to my shoulder width, because I know that my hip and my ass width is sort of, a bit bigger than the shoulders. And if I were to try and get the ease in this, that is going to fit too much over my back end. It's going to be too sloppy at the top. But if I check, that's when I need to get that length just right. So there is actually a more cropped length, and people have done a longer length. So then that's when I actually look at how am I going to wear it? What will it be on? Would I be better in a boxy size to then go over things like dresses and not things like jeans, which accentuate out your hips, and all of those sorts of little elements as well. So in terms of the practicality of how you're going to wear it. But the shoulder fit, I know, is crucial, like in the sense that if you go too big in the shoulders, you tend to be screwed right from the get-go.
Yeah, and I mean, some of us, like I rock kind of a formal but sloppy wardrobe, if you will, where like I wear a lot of really structured, oversized shapes. It's very Jill Sanders circa 2006. But that doesn't work on all bodies, I have a very FMO, like for models only body shape. And so for me, wearing stuff that is vastly oversized just for the aesthetic of it is really comfortable and looks really good, but like more fabric doesn't actually equal better fit, is I think one of the big things.
And I know that's something that I talked about a lot when I was, particularly with yoked projects, when I did both the Goldwing and the Rambler, is I actually made sure that I take, like for me, a bust measurement. I mean, I'm very average in the bust. I'm not particularly big busted, but I'm not small busted either. They're not as perky as they used to be, so the bras are sort of hitched up even more aggressively than they ever were. But I always make sure that I get a shoulder and a bust fit here, because I know that I can comfortably modify through the waist and the hips, and I'm forever doing that. Obviously, with the bottom up, that isn't always as easy, but there are patterns that do accommodate for that. And oatmeal, actually, Libby's oatmeal is one that does that. It has actually a really good measurement through that hip, and then actually you can get some subtle waist shaping. So
honestly, when it comes to bottom up, if you're putting two things together that don't necessarily belong together, the big problem is going to be when you join in your sleeves, everyone.
Yeah.
So the problem with knitting is that it has become very like pedagogical about how we approach things. Like, this is how you build this garment. This is how this works. But, that is a very Western approach to knitting, where in other knitting traditions, there's a lot more, I don't want to say fudging, because they're not fudging, they're actually quite precise, but there's a lot more freedom in the method of approach. Knitting tends to be a lot more open source and a lot less pattern based. It's a lot more like, let's discuss sizing and stitch patterns and stitch dictionaries and seam placement, and then go ahead and make something. You'll find a lot more community knitting sourced projects where people are all knitting something similar, but no one's actually using a pattern. I think that like I've got a very lucky body shape in and of the fact that like most things with very little modification, except for adding length in weird spots. And I have to do this thing now with patterns where in this portion, I have to create a huge amount of neck drop. Like my neck drop has to be really exaggerated in the back so that my traps don't pull the back of jerseys up, exposing my rear very unpleasantly.
Yeah, I think it's really important, like just actually knowing your own body shape. And sorry, I'm losing my voice. Like it's not, as Ethan said, it's not actually a judgment. It's just knowing how your own body works. Like if you look at Marie and I, we're probably quite a similar size. However, we're a very different shape.
Very different shape, yeah.
Yeah. So what a pattern that works for Marie is not necessarily going to work for me, because no matter what size I am, I have waist. My body is very straight up and down. So anything with aggressive waist shaping doesn't actually work for me, because my figure goes straight up and down like this, and like I say, this is not a size thing, this is actually the shape of my body. So a lot of these fabulous patterns that are very that are designed for very curvy hourglass kind of shapes don't work for me at all. They look awful on me, and this is just like, even when we're talking clothing off the rack, not necessarily knitting patterns. So, and they always have. I remember,
and that's when you look at your own, you look at your own wardrobe for inspiration too. I do that all the time. I look at commercially off the rack clothes, and you know what feels good and you know what doesn't. Well, that's you apply that same logic to your knitting. If you know that you're not going to
calculate ease too.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Grab your favorite sweater, measure that sucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knit to that. Yeah, it's something that you've got in your wardrobe that fits you really well. I think it's really important, and also, and just to look at your own body, like I say, and just accept the shape it is without judgment. Like there's no point in me going, oh my God, I wish I had this hourglass figure. I don't have an hourglass figure. And while I love some clothing, it just honestly doesn't work for me, and doesn't, it just, no matter what I do to it, it's not going to fit right, because it's not designed for the shape of my body.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with size at all.
Yeah, it is. It's and that's just, and I do it all the time too. I look at what's in the wardrobe and then figure out, like, and when I chose to do the Nanook, it actually worked in quite well, because I looked at that and I have what I call sort of 2 staple capsules of things that I will wear to work, because usually I will wear my knitwear is most often worn to work. So, and that's all part of me just thinking about sort of the brand and what I'm doing. And I always try and wear knitwear to work. And I have a sort of standard capsule of things that I wear to work all the time. So when I chose the Nanook, it was like, well, is this going to work with what I wear to work most of the time? The standard sort of setup of what I have. And the answer to that is yes. And it's looking at, and using your own wardrobe as a guide, and and applying the logic that you have in your own wardrobe across to you, that really helps. Mary is asking, hi Marie, Deb and Ethan, when are you guys coming to Ohio, USA? Mary,
there's a global pandemic.
I have to
you might not have noticed this, Mary, but there's a global pandemic.
I know.
I can go anywhere.
No, I have to admit though, Deb and I have often talked about Ohio, because Deb and I both have, Deb's family has very good friends in Dayton.
We have friends
and I
in Dayton.
And I live just outside of Dayton, and went to and actually graduated high school in the US. And
I love all of Ohio except for Cleveland. Mary, so as long as you're not in Cleveland, we can discuss
please
this.
tell us you're not in Cleveland.
No Cleveland. I've done Cleveland. I didn't enjoy the Cleveland at all, but oh my God, if you're Columbus, Madison, I'm definitely into that. Mostly, I know Madison's over in Wisconsin, but it's a short enough drive that we can get there, get some cheese curds right back. Also because
she's saying 20 miles north, so that's well.
No.
Oh my God.
No, I've never been to the US. I don't know about things like cheese.
Well, okay. Well, the nice part is, Rogue, the big fitness supplier for CrossFit, is in Ohio. So like I definitely have many reasons to want to go.
Okay, so maybe we'll come, but yeah.
Well, one day when the world opens up, Mary, we might do a oh, here she goes. I live 20 miles south of Dayton, and our shop's in Springboro. I know exactly where you are, Springboro. There you go.
Oh, I know exactly where she is too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if I did end up anywhere in the US, it probably would be in Dayton visiting our friends. So there we go.
Kind of hilarious.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's like you're living when?
I'm just trying to remember the name. Waynesville. I'm very fond of Waynesville, Mary. That was kind of my happy little place. I used to, because there's awesome antique stores in Waynesville. In fact, I've got a quilt sitting up there that I bought from Waynesville last time I was there. Oh, she's saying she'll come and cook for us. Excellent.
Ooh, and we could visit our friends from Blue Sky Fiber.
Oh,
no,
they're in.
Yeah, they're right over in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Or in Minnesota. They're in Minnesota.
Honestly, I don't mean to be like such a coastal elite, but I have lived in both New York and Los Angeles, so like.
Yeah, you know that there is a whole big middle to the country, eh? Just checking. There is this really big bit in the middle.
I have proudly driven through most of Wyoming by myself, including all the spots where they're like, by the way, there's no cell phone reception.
There we go. Waynesville's only 5 miles east of Mary. Mary, we're there. We're there.
Okay,
the world opens up, we're there. All right, that's good. I'm glad we've got those travel plans sorted out. All right. Okay, so there you go. All the travel sorted. That's excellent. So what are you two up to for the rest of the day? I'm quite determined I want to really get stuck into Nanook, so that's definitely on the cards for me. And chugging away with Poncho.
I'm going to finish this back
actually,
today.
and for those that have just joined, because of course we talked about it's Redfield. Redford
in Bohemia Light.
We talked like Robert.
Yes. So Redford is what Ethan was going to be knitting for Knit August Nights, but he's now, and it was his travel project. We were working. Well, you were working on that when we were together in Wellington. So
yes, which is apparently when we had a bit of a Designs by Chardonnay moment.
Yes.
When I was casting on, and looking back, it was not.
Oh, that's how the wrong number of.
Are you trying to blame me? Yeah.
No, I'm blaming me. Oh God, I think I'm the problem in this case. Like we take turns being the problem, Marie. Thankfully, for everyone.
We do.
The trick is, like, I do my best drunk knitting when it comes to color work. Actually, as you know. I totally normal, everyone. Drunken colorwork knitting that works out perfectly when you're doing multiple increases and knitting on a 2.75 millimeter needle. It's very average. It's what everyone's doing. I know it's what's happening. Right?
Well, sure. I know Deb and I witnessed that when you were doing the twigs,
Yeah, but this is like, the thing is, this is just, it's several pieces of stockinette. None of them are particularly large. Let's just, I actually haven't counted how far in I am at the moment. I think I'm eight repeats in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've just started the 9th, which means there's only, probably only like 40, 45 more rows to go, which is a great feeling. So I'm just placing markers every 20 rows. Just so that I have a good idea of where I'm at. Also, because the increases happen every 20 rows. And then I was like, well, it's probably better for keeping count just to keep going. Because it goes up to 216 rows for my size, which is the second size in. I'm knitting it in Carnival because I can do red, thankfully. And yeah, I would highly recommend this pattern. I've already tried it on in Bohemia Light before. And it's so comfortable. So if you're looking for a great project to make for a pickier garment receiver in your life, I would say that this is perfect for a couple of reasons. One, there's no ribbing around the bottom, so you don't have to worry about that cast on or that fit. Two, the neckline is a medium-high crew, and it has that kind of classic old school sweatshirt detail with that reverse triangle of reverse stockinette on the bottom of the collar. It's a 1x1 rib at the neck and a 1x1 rib around each sleeve. So there's nothing to it. And all the pieces are relatively small when you're knitting them. So I guess it's kind of and it's Julie Hoover. So there's no tricks. There's no secrets. It's not like she's not an enigma wrapped in a secret, dipped in chocolate and deep fried. Yeah. She's Julie Hoover. She's like, you're going to knit a big piece of stockinette, and then you're going to sew these 2 seams, and it's going to be done. But I love designs like that for times like these, because you can just plunk down and knit them.
And she also, and they're very classic and timeless though. I love her designs for that too. Like if you're looking for things for this tweed, and you want the yarn to do all the talking, the hooves, Klein. I think, Klein, absolutely.
Klein.
Yeah.
Klein is my, I've already made one, and I've given it away, and I'm not upset because it's perfect on the person I gave it to. I gave it to Perlin.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for her, but I do actually want to make a new one. And I've got plans. Mostly because it's just such a beautiful, timeless pullover that you can throw on with anything. It has a hybrid dolman raglan sleeve, so it's actually flattering on every single person I've ever seen it on. And it's all stockinette. It's really intelligent shapes of stockinette, which is what Julie Hooves, the Hooves, as she's affectionately known by yours truly. And unfortunately, I've gotten the people at EMEAC calling her that too.
You were such a monster. You're a shocker.
The Hooves. I don't know why it started. It just kind of did. It's not as bad as first of all, if you've never witnessed Michelle Wang, she is strikingly beautiful in person and very arresting. And she has this very rich, clipped New York influenced accent that's just very round on all of her syllables. And her nickname is Mishi, but you have to pronounce an X in the middle of it, which is really interesting. And being at an event with her is where the Hooves thing, I think, came from, is because she has such a great nickname. And Veronique just goes by Vero. And then you're just kind of standing there and it's well, I mean, Julie Hoover, you can't be left out of this. So the Hooves, it was born in a flash of a moment.
Now, one of the other
Julie
questions
actually knows about this.
Oh yes, I called it. I've said it to her face.
Okay. Now, someone also was asking about what yarn they were going to do Shifting Sands in. I can definitely recommend, if you're wanting to wait for the sale, our vintage that is going to be on sale, I think would be perfect for Shifting Sands. It's a nice tubular sort of a 4-fold yarn. You will get beautiful stitch definition on those moving cables, and in porcelain or tea, if you're wanting to get the same colour look that she's got, I think that would be ideal. And it's going to be on the pack special, which means that you can actually buy it. And I would get 2 packs. Don't dick around with anything less. Get 2 packs of it. Then you've got plenty. So if you want to play around with your length and do any of that, you've got the yarn to do it, and it's not going to bust your bank. So that is suggestion number 1. It will also too look really, really fabulous as well in Bandit, but also Bohemia. I think it would look wonderful in Bohemia. That
someone's done it in Gothic. It's amazing.
Yeah, it would look incredible in Bohemia. I think that would look amazing. So don't be afraid with it. Bohemia for Klein, totally, Pauline.
Yeah,
it would be amazing. I mean, Klein looks good in anything.
It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of go-to designs that you would go to again and again and again. And I know for those who watch regularly, we're quite boring because we often recommend the same designers, the same designs, but there's a reason for that, and that's because they work. We know that they work, and we want them to work for you. So yeah. That's why we do that. That's why we do it.
And there's nothing wrong. You can always dig in. Marie and I have talked a lot about Outlier Patterns.
Yeah.
So if you're looking, because you want to make something by a popular designer, but you see that some of the fits and stuff don't work very well, always look for those Outlier Patterns. That's always my recommendation. I'm a big fan of some of the more obscure Caitlin Hunter patterns. She's got this great one called Wildwood that no one really makes, although it has giant baubles and a drop shoulder and cuffed sleeves and color work. It's all over the place.
No wonder no one ever makes it.
It's incredible. I love it. This rose cardigan, obviously by Andrea Mowry, is a great Outlier pattern. I'm obviously a huge fan. The very easy to pronounce Nilchnik Swancho. It's okay, Marie is just taking apart her bedroom in the back.
The dog wanted to go out and I tripped over my knitting.
Oh no.
Yeah, but that's all right. Nothing's broken. Didn't spill anything.
Sue, I actually have someone I know a person who is about 4'11" who made Klein, and it looks amazing on her. So don't be afraid of an oversized garment on a tiny frame. It just makes you look even more fabulous. When there's more fabric, there's just more to love. Although, like, I will not lie, I do come from the school of, like, I will wear a tent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy in a big knitted tent, just kind of rocking out for a whole day.
You know, well, some of us were teenagers in the 80s as well, and the fashion then was to wear everything like two sizes, 3 sizes too big. Yeah.
Whatever happened to the Stephen West
the Cookie Monster dipped in bleach?
Yes, that's the one. Whatever happened to
that was rehomed as part of a witness protection program. The reason that we don't have it as a sample in the shop is because I don't want anyone to make it. It's an immense amount of knitting. It's a really cool pattern. It's got a really great idea behind it. And it just didn't quite deliver, which was, it was a little sad. Because I love a giant, oversized, weirdly shaped object. So I was really pumped. And I tried desperately to make it work. I wore it for like 2 weeks. I put it on with every pair of pants known to mankind. I even had a vague flirtation with possibly a kilt might work with it.
It would look cool with a kilt.
It didn't. The end result of it was not all designers are created equal, and not all of our designs are created equal. And Steven's sweet spot is more fitted garments, it turns out. I think he does a really great job with a nice fitted pullover. A lot of those patterns from him are really, really good. And that particular oversized shape was just not spectacular.
And it was a lot of yarn to make it.
It was a lot of yarn, and it was really heavy. Like it actually, no matter what you make it out of, I know several other people who have made one, and someone that I know who like made hers in La Bien-Aimée in the Kumo brush suri alpaca and merino DK, and it is really visually beautiful to look at. But it weighs just under a kilo.
Yeah. Muriel's, I can't remember the name of it. Muriel's asking, it's been rehomed, Muriel, so he doesn't have it anymore. What was it? I can't even remember what it was called.
Extra Texture.
Extra Texture, that's right.
Yeah, there is a picture of it on my Ravelry.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying because, you know, I took a really great photo.
Yeah.
There's a really great photo of it.
Yeah. And you know what? You get those designs. You get them. I mean, we all get them. We all do them, and we're like, yeah. And that's part of the learning process and figuring things out.
The person who has it loves it.
Loves it. Exactly.
Loves it. I mean, it looks awful on them, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't intend for them to steal it. It was actually thieved from me, if I'm being honest about the rehoming that occurred. Like, I just didn't stop it because I was like, well, I'm not going to wear it anyway.
It's a bit like leaving that junker of a car unlocked on the hope that someone's going to steal it.
Yeah. It does mean that I do need to reknit a new Stephen West jersey eventually, but more news on that later.
Yes, more news on that later. All right, well, it's now, look, exactly 12 o'clock, and I'm quite determined not to go over because people have lives. You've got day drinking to get to.
I do. I have a lot of day drinking to do. It's going to be really difficult.
Thinking it might be a nice idea. I haven't actually done any of that.
We did get some sheep's milk gin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and
I wish I was there. We had the best time last time we did that all together. We had a great time.
I know.
We did.
Soon again.
We will.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've only got I've only got 1 foot off the wagon. I'm not completely off.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll catch her. Like, I'll catch the other ankle and just
yank her off. Right, and on that note, I'm going to head off. We're all going to head off. Thank you so much for joining us, especially all of those that came from one to another. Oh, look, and just in time, we're going to get bombed by the other one has just come for a visit. There we go. Pan the camera around. There he is.
Hello,
Rufus.
Hi, Rufus.
There's Rufus.
Hi, Rufus. I miss you.
Yeah, there's Rufus, and I'll pull that background. So that's us. I'm probably going to join you solo tomorrow. I'll give everyone else a day off, and hopefully I'll be able to show off some progress on the Nanook and see how everybody has been, how your weekends are progressing. But until then, make sure you go and check out the Skeinz sale page and start planning your projects now. That page will go on sale. Everything will go live midnight on Wednesday, which is when we're back in level 3. But until then, enjoy your day drinking, Ethan and Deb. I will see all you guys again, same bat channel, same bat time tomorrow here on the Quarantine Diaries.